to impacts. Okay, coming to question 2, how many feral horses are there? Well, we can rely on the surveys of Stuart Cairns, and I'm going to walk you through some of the methods that he used to count the number of horses. So they used 3 survey blocks. So these are the areas with feral horses in Kosciuszko in the north and across the border in the south. And this on the right is an expanded version of that area in the south, and you can see the helicopter transects that they flew. They flew a total of 2,690 kilometres. So this is a massive survey effort, something that you could never achieve if you were to do it on foot or ride horses around. It just could not be done. They avoided steep terrain, so they excluded steep terrain from the survey because it's hard to count horses in those areas. And the methods they use are really quite sophisticated. So this is a picture of the measuring stick that they use. So this helps them to judge how far away from the helicopter each group of horses is that they see. So they count them in distance categories. And because horses that are further away are actually harder to see, you need to use these statistical methods to get the best estimate. And this is called distance sampling. So this graph shows the probability that you're going to detect the horse with the distance it is from the helicopter. And you can see that the probability of seeing the horse drops off with distance. And so you need to take that into account if you're going to estimate the total number of horses. And that's what this method does. Now, the method also takes into account other potential biases. So these are things like variation due to different observers, variation due to cloud cover, differences in detectability amongst open areas and trees, and the size of the horse clusters. All of these things are accounted for in this analysis. So it's quite sophisticated and comprehensive, and it's the best count that we've been able to get with the funding that's available, and we'll see that it's a good count. So what they came up with in this Bago area, they estimated there was just over 1,000 horses with a certain error estimate. That's a 95% confidence interval. That just means that we think this is the best number, but because there's uncertainty in the calculations, we're 95% sure that the real value falls somewhere between this number and this number. But we typically use this middle number as the working number rather than the low or the high number. In the south, they estimated there were 8,500 horses. In the north, over 15,000 horses, and this was a real shock. So overall, the total number of horses was about 25,000. That's a lot of horses. It's a big number. So what does that actually mean? It has some really serious ramifications. So in 2019, we had 25,000. In 2014, there were estimated to be 9,000 using the same methods. So the rate of annual horse increase is 22.5%. That's high. It has been recorded as being higher. That's quite a high value, which means the horses have been doing well. The conditions have been right for increasing population density and expanding their range. And as I said before, the general consensus is that not many were killed in the fires. So we can take these numbers as being still valid despite the fires. Horses seem to have survived the fires okay. So that means that in 2020, so it's a year since these surveys were done, we've got an extra 5,500 horses in the park because nothing's been done. The park staff have not been able to manage these horses because of the objections and delays caused around the whole debate. So now there's probably, if this 25,000 number is correct for 2019, there could be 31,000 this year. Next year, there's going to be an extra 7,000 horses. So that's 7,000 just in 1 year. The year after that, if there's no control, there could be 8,000. And the year after that, an extra 10,000 just in 1 year. Those are really important numbers. They're big, and they tell us and they explain why some of the proposed methods for control are just totally out of reach. Let's go there. Can rehoming work? Not with those numbers. So the track record for Kosciuszko from 2002 to 15 for rehoming is that they trapped around 3,000 horses. 18% of those were rehomed. That averages about 43 per year. In a good year, they might have been able to rehome a couple of hundred at best. But we're talking an extra 5,000 horses in 2020 and an extra 7,000 in 2021 if we don't do anything. This is all happening, by the way, in the context of what's going on with the racing industry, where thousands of horses go to the abattoir every year, according to the RSPCA. So there's this overwhelming abundance of horses that people don't want. So basically, demand for horses is 2 orders of magnitude lower than needed to even take up the excess horses that are produced each year. So it's just, there is no question. Rehoming is a good thing. I mean, I support rehoming, and there are plenty of people with lovely horses taken from the wild, but it just can't happen at the scale that's needed to manage the horses that are out there right now. And the same applies for fertility control. Can fertility control work? No, it can't. And I'll tell you why. When you're working with fertility control, at least half of the females have to be treated every 2 to 4 years. And immigration has to be limited. If you've got new horses coming in, then it introduces untreated females. The other thing, even if you could do that, populations won't start to reduce for 10 to 20 years because if a horse isn't reproducing, it lives for longer. So the impacts on the environment are going to continue over that whole period before the population started to decline. But as I said, there were 25,000 horses last year. There's more this year, and there is immigration. So this whole thing was considered in this paper by Hobbs and Hines. So you can dig that one out and find out more about that for yourself. But I'll just say that in the USA they have this same massive problem, only worse. And there they report that the cost of sterilizing a mare for life is about $17,500. So if you had to, so the number of horses that you would have to sterilize in the Australian Alps for this to work is going to cost way in excess of 100 million. And I just can't see that sort of money materializing. So fertility control really is not on the table.